So welcome everyone to our green building break on True Certification for Zero Waste. My name is Emily Andrews. I'm the Executive Director of the Missouri Gateway Green Building Council. We're excited to have you join us for this green building break. I look forward to learning more about this rating system, and I really hope that this webinar will spur more interest in True in our local market and in the Midwest. We have people joining us both from the St. Louis region, but from across the Midwest. We're also excited to welcome our partners on today's webinar, the St. Louis Regional Green Business Challenge and the U.S. Green Building Council. We've got two great speakers lined up to share their zero waste expertise, Stephanie Barger with USGBC and Ken Jackson with True Manufacturing. And before we jump into the presentation, we're going to hear briefly from each of our partners. So this webinar is part of the Missouri Gateway Green Building Council's Green Building Break series, which offers both virtual and in-person learning opportunities on the fourth or fifth Friday, always at noon. Our sessions vary between virtual webinars on green building and sustainability hot topics and in-person tours of local green buildings. You can always review past green building breaks that are recorded, our virtual sessions on our YouTube channel. A couple quick guidelines for today's session. I'd ask that everybody stay muted during the presentations. We'll have an opportunity for Q&A at the end of the presentations, at which point you can drop questions into the chat or raise your hand and we'll prompt you to unmute. So save those questions up or, put them into the chat. I'd like to call out just a couple of upcoming events that Missouri Gateway Green Building Council has going on. First, we're excited to be recruiting schools and mentors for the 2026-2027 Green Schools Quest. This project pairs a volunteer mentor with a K-12 school to implement a no or low cost sustainability project over the course of the school year. The deadline to register for the quest is September 15th, and we will be kicking off on September 20th. Right around the corner, we have our Emerging Professional Happy Hour on Thursday, September 1st at Alpha Brewery. These happen every first Thursday of the month and they're open to all. And then our evening program in September will be on September 15th, and it's a roundtable discussion on the building energy performance standards here in the city of St. Louis, but we'll also be touching on performance standards that are going on in other parts of the country as well. So that's on September 15th at 5:30 at the 4240 building in Cortex. I'm going to turn it over to Jacqueline Jezik with the St. Louis Regional Green Business Challenge to say a few words.
Hello, everyone. I am Jacqueline Jezik, Coordinator and Sustainability Specialist for the St. Louis Green Business Challenge, which is a program of the Missouri Botanical Garden. We assist companies, nonprofits, and municipalities in implementing sustainability measures that are common to their daily operations of every business. We focus on that triple bottom line of finding strategies that best support people, planet, and profitability. The St. Louis Green Business Challenge is a fee-based program and runs on a calendar year. We're actually smack dab in the middle of our 17th year of programming and excited to team up with the Missouri Gateway Green Building Council for this presentation, as we have many challenge participants focusing on responsible consumption and production. If you are St. Louis area based and would like to learn more about the Green Business Challenge, please go to our website, stlouisgreenchallenge.com, and sign up for our newsletter. I'll pass this along to Stephanie.
Sorry, we're actually gonna hear from Marianne Etienne from USGBC next.
Hi everyone. Like Emily said, Mary Ellen Etienne. I'm a director at the U.S. Green Building Council representing our Midwest team. My colleagues and I provide support on LEED, True, and more across the region. And not only am I a True advisor, along with Stephanie Barger, I'm one of the developers of True. So I always love the opportunity to showcase the program. So thanks for joining us today to learn more about it. I'd like to, next, please. I'd like to start off by thanking our USGBC members in the region. Your support makes it possible to do all the education and engagement opportunities we host in the region. Next, I'd like to offer a few updates from USGBC. So we're best known for LEED, of course, and True, but since we'll be digging into True later, I'll just skip to LEED. So LEED was developed more than 25 years ago, and it's the world's most widely used green building rating system. It provides a framework for healthy, high efficient, and cost-effective buildings. If you're unaware, our newest version, LEED 5, further defines what it means to be a high-performance building, creating greater impact. Next. Speaking of EV5, just a quick update. If you haven't heard already, that we've extended the registration deadline for V4 and 4.1 projects to June 30th. So this was to give more projects more flexibility in light of current market changes. So if you have any questions, let us know. V5 still, is our recommended strategy for new projects, though. Next. I'd also quickly like to mention Greenbuild. It's such a unique opportunity to gather leaders and practitioners shaping the green building movement. I'll be there. I'll be hosting a few zero waste events if you're interested. There's going to be a true networking breakfast, as well as the New York City Circularity Tour and a session on scaling reuse. So I hope you'll join us. Next, speaking of Greenbuild, we have nominations open for our Emerging Leader Awards, and those are open until next Wednesday, 26th. So if you know of a leader you'd like to recommend for that, please do nominate somebody. Next. Now I'll just transition to our speakers. Stephanie Barger is the creator of True Certification and Credential Program. And for more than 30 years, she advanced zero waste solutions that increase the economic benefits for businesses and communities while reducing environmental impacts for our ecosystems. And Ken Jackson leads facility operations for True Manufacturing, overseeing large-scale manufacturing environments. With more than 20 years of experience maintenance facilities and project management, he advanced zero waste efforts through employee engagement, education, and continuous improvement. So I'm thrilled to turn it over to Stephanie now. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Mary Ellen. So as Mary Ellen said, we founded True in 2010, and we founded it because we need to clean up the waste industry and the waste system. And so True stands for Total Resource Use and Efficiency. And our focus is not just on material reuse or as a resource, but also on your financial resources. And most people think sustainability costs money, which it can, but True really helps you find hidden money and save money. So it's not about spending more, it's about doing less and more efficient. And then our most important resource is our human resource. And that is to lift up the people that are handling all of our materials, food service, janitorial, property management, those that are working at the facilities. And it's really exciting because many of our janitorial companies, they now make their janitors zero waste champions and are really leaning in to supporting their growth and education. And then True is all about efficiency, right? It's about the operations and the flow of materials. And we're going to hear more in depth from Ken on that. So what is True? It is not a waste management program. And I encourage all of you to change your waste management programs to material, resource, or commodity management. Everything is recyclable or reusable, or we shouldn't have bought it in the first place, or we should have redesigned it. And that's how we need to look at it. And everything we're putting in those different bins can make you money or save you money. And that's done through circularity and closing the loop. So like I said, True really focuses on cleaning up our systems. So if you're putting it in a recycling bin, we want you to find out where it's going, what it's being made into, and how you can buy it back. And then upstream, we want to work with our supply chains. And it's very important to involve them sooner than later. And then putting out really strong environmental purchasing guidelines. And that can just be a checklist. You don't have to do all the research. You can put that out to your vendors and have them participate. And then once again, including all of your employees and uplifting them, and then having the leadership to make changes. And what's great about True, it's all about saving and making money. And I'm going to highlight some of those clients at the end of the presentation. So although we do want you to recycle and compost, we live up here in the zero waste hierarchy. We want to redesign our systems, redesign our products, look at ways to return, reuse, repair, remanufacture, get it into the hands of people that can use it versus putting it in the dump. And then our zero waste economy. Unfortunately, most of us do not live in a community that has a complete zero waste economy, but that's where leadership comes in. And that's the partnership with True. We work with cities all over the world and organizations all over the world. So I always say I don't know everything, but we do know the people that do. And we've put a link in the chat about the wine industry zero waste. This is a great story of businesses and industry in a region coming together. And they have now source separated 90% of their materials, closing the loop on 60%, working upstream with their supply chain. And then more importantly, they have involved the Conservation Corps to pick up their materials. The Conservation Corps trains young people and helps them get jobs in the zero waste industry. So that's really exciting. And then once again, it's about working with all your stakeholders. So notifying everybody upstream and downstream when you start looking at zero waste. Don't wait till you have your plan in place. Zero waste is a team sport. We want everybody involved. And then looking at all your food service providers, janitor, property managers, many of them already are True advisors or looking at the True system and want to support their clients. So we work with Compass, Sodexo, JLL, SBM, CBRE, all of those different providers, and they want to help you be more efficient because it helps them be more efficient. And then once again, looking at that community, and we usually look at our community about donating things to them, but they are the experts in this field. So if you're having problem people reducing their food waste or, donating it, then bring in the food banks. They are experts in this. They know what your community needs. And same with nonprofits. If you need more information on plastic pollution, you can work with the Plastic Coalition, Surfrider, Heal the Bay, many different organizations. And I will say a lot of your zoos and aquariums have become experts on that because they're now about conservation. And then lean into your government. If you haven't contacted your local recycling coordinator, work with them, understand what resources are available, and then look at your schools, not only to educate them, but more importantly, especially our universities. Our students are so brilliant. When we learned about environmental, it was really about the birds and the bees and the plants. And now there's sustainable engineering, sustainable product design. And that's a huge opportunity to bring everybody in. Whoops. Then one thing that people don't think about when they think about zero waste is decarbonization. And I honestly think materials and zero waste should be a scope 1, not a scope 3. But it's important to understand that by getting compost out, by getting construction demolition out, by getting electronics out of the landfill, we reduce our toxic gases, not only to the air, but to the water and to the land. And also it's about being a leader in your community and really leaning in and understanding what they need, how you can support them, what their goals are, and helping them develop a zero waste plan with your expertise. And then technology. It's the one thing that's been missing in circularity, zero waste, waste management, recycling. And what's really exciting now, it can be a little overwhelming. What's really exciting now is there's so much technology out there. Everything from having sensors in your bin so you can have at-will pickups from your hauler to AI analyzing what's in there for contamination, what types of materials, and then most importantly, importantly, tracking. You know, a lot of us are still using spreadsheets or having to hand get bills from our haulers and not really understanding what that is, what the weights are, how full the bins are, what the service levels. And so that's a really exciting development. And we work with many amazing software companies and software tools. So please reach out. I'm going to go into true certification. Ken is going to do a deep dive into our credits, so I am just providing an overview. So we have over 700 plus facilities in 47 countries that are certified and thousands that are registered. And why I point out the 47 countries is you can do this anywhere. And it's because you're not dependent on a waste management system. We're working in the upstream, the redesign, the reuse, the reduction, the repurpose, the repair, and working with your supply chain. And we have very small companies and very large companies. The Microsoft campus is a small city. It's 125 buildings and 50,000 employees. And then we have little tiny facilities that are 1,500 square feet. And then sometimes your whole campus isn't ready. So at Disneyland, there's an asterisk. So they're getting facility by facility certified within Disneyland. So many different ways to work with your facilities and your projects. As I said, purchasing is the most important, and that is how our rating system is weighted. So there are 9 points for purchasing and only 3 points for recycling. And that's because if everything you're purchasing is returnable, reusable, repairable, compostable, and recyclable, you're zero waste. And I would much rather dig through purchasing invoices than dig through dumpsters. And this really drives home that true is the flow of materials, how they come into your facility, how they flow through, and then how they end up leaving your facility. And then once again, that deep dive into analysis, reporting, closing the loop, upstream management, and really looking at your training programs. And you can easily incorporate this into your EHS and safety. And I would encourage you to mimic your safety program, right? It needs to be constant all the time. There needs to be milestones. You need to adapt it. You need to have maybe some contest awareness and add some fun to it. The more consistent it is and the more frequent it is, the more successful your program can be. So it's not about having half-day training. It's about 5 or 10 minutes in each meeting. And then True is evolving. It's really exciting. So this happened many years ago for our green build. They said, hey, we want to get True certified for the event. We didn't have True for events. We have since developed True for events and have done small events and large events. And even if you are a really small event, you can go to our resource page and look at all the resources available for having a zero waste event. And once again, that's about that pre-planning and involving all your stakeholders. And then because we're USGBC and LEED is our premier program, many of our contractors and designers and project management said, hey, what about our construction sites? And once again, they were very fed up with the construction and demolition. Not that there aren't great construction and demolition recycling out there, but they really want to maximize those resources. And so we have a facility that's getting certified right now. It's at UC Berkeley Gateway, and they will probably save over $1 million in waste fees and or income generated. That's a big number that really helps everybody with jobs, with moving forward, with profitability. And then we have True V2 coming in the fall. Please look out for the emails, sign up at our website. We have tons of resources available for you. And then we have our portfolio program, this for large companies to level set and maximize what they are doing across their entire company. Each facility still needs to meet our 90% or greater, but you can level set or customize for each credit so it is company-wide. And then our True Advisor program, this is a great training program if you're looking to certify a company or you're at a company that's looking to certify. It's an online on demand. But we have many students, even some moms, some teachers, service providers, and even some of our companies like Glambia. They have paid for over 90 True Advisors, and they give it out to any employee that wants to learn more about True and zero waste. And then, as I said, we have tons of resources, USGBC, including True program. We want to make it very accessible. So please visit our website and look at our webinars, our articles, and our resources. Now, I'm just going to highlight quickly some of our companies. So the first one is talking about distribution centers. That's probably the easiest because you're really tracking the flow of materials. But at the same time, it's about maximizing those resources, those commodities. And as you see here, they have used Gaylord to source separate all of their materials, and they're getting paid for these. And it might only be $5 a ton, but it's better than paying $40 a ton for landfill and waste to energy. And then even companies like REI, they now charge a nominal fee to all their vendors that send things in film plastic. And it's really to make a statement. Do you need to wrap your pallets 15 times? Do you need to put plastic inside a plastic? And so really about that efficiency, because when you decrease the amount of packaging or make it easier to handle, your whole business becomes more efficient. And then this one is in India, once again, all over the world, but this is a 6 million square foot building that is multi-tenant. And it's about leadership. So whether it's an apartment building, a HOA, a business, high-rise complex, a school, it's about coming together with your ownership, with the people that are living or working or visiting your facility, and providing that education, providing that way to share ideas, and then setting up a system that works for all. And it's never going to be perfect, but that's okay. We just need to take a step forward. And then even our consultants, Woodworth is actually in Japan, but they want to showcase to their clients that they can do zero waste. They know zero waste. They know True. So they've gotten like 2 floors in a high-rise building that is where they occupy. And once again, that helps the whole building get closer to zero waste. And then this is one of my favorites. This Yellowstone warehouse in Yellowstone National Park only operates about 8 months out of the year and has about 30 employees. They were throwing everything in the trash. And when they started pursuing True, they saved over $263,000 in 3 years. And this is their zero waste audit. So they are really focused on reuse. So everything that goes in this bin gets repurposed, or they look at ways to make it reusable. And remember, a zero waste audit can happen every day, anytime. You can just look in a bin, observe, see what's happening. And once again, the flow of materials. How did all these disposable, non-recyclable items get into your facility to begin with? And we'll just end with the value proposition. Many companies come to True because we are so comprehensive. We hit every part of your planning, your facility, your actions, working upstream and downstream. It's really about behavioral change and education, and once again, increasing your bottom line. And here's just a couple of ways to contact us. We are very available to support you with a personal training presentation, lunch and learns, even on-site visits. So thank you very much, and I'll hand it over to Ken.
Thanks, Stephanie. Ken, you can jump in.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. This was an exciting project for us, and I'm a facility manager here at True Manufacturing. I've been on the sustainability team since its inception We've been a sustainable company for a very long time, and we never really formalized the thing. So once we got into it, we started to understand very quickly that we had been being a sustainable company. We just hadn't really shared that story, a message with anybody. Uh, about 8 years ago, we set out a goal to become a zero waste certified company. And I'm happy to say we achieved that certification earlier this year. So it was a journey to get here for sure. And I have had some technology issues today, so if I drop off or something weird happens, I'll jump back on one way or another. We'll figure it out. But True Manufacturing is local to Missouri. We have about 4 million square feet of plant space here in the area. This is what you're looking at here is really our main campus in O'Fallon. We're right off of Highway 70. We've got production lines and warehouses throughout our entire portfolio here, along with office space at most of our facilities. We have about 3,000 team members that work, so there was a challenge from an education standpoint to get everybody on board and understand where we're at, where we're coming from, and why it mattered. We go through, well, we have about 1,000 tons a month that material that has to be managed. So a big place, a complex bill of materials. So if you're not familiar with our product, these are some of the products we make. If you checked out at a Walmart and you bought something in the checkout line, one of those impulse refrigerators or whatever, that's probably us. If you had a sandwich from Subway, it was probably made on one of our products. So it's a lot of back of house commercial refrigeration, and a lot of we've got some residential lines now, but these are just a few of the products. It's kind of once you see it, you really can't unsee it. They're literally everywhere. But again, some of the products we make, back of house stuff, front of house stuff, checkout lines, in-row refrigeration. Fresh Pet is one of our customers there. So again, if you've seen those on the end caps, that's probably a true product as well. So again, we've covered some of this, so I won't go into great depth, but the true total resource use and efficiency program, again, it just happens to align with our name. We're not affiliated with them in any way, but has some basic program requirements that you have to meet. So you have to have a zero waste policy. You have to divert 90% at least for 12 months before you can certify. You've got to meet all solid waste and recycling guidelines. Again, just some basic requirements that you have to get through before you can even certify. It's very, very similar to certifying a LEED project where you've got categories and X number of points or points that you can be awarded in each category. So the process kind of runs from, these are kind of the steps through the process. You're going to register your project. You're going to look at implementing strategies, perform analysis. You submit it, you're going to get some feedback, so you might have to adjust your planning and your project a little bit. So that's when you're getting your preliminary just review of your project. Once you have done everything and you've gone through your points and you're pretty confident that you're going to be able to certify, then you submit your project. Hopefully you get to celebrate your wins, which we did. Huge thing for us. So we've been sharing it almost every sustainability meeting we've had when we do our all hands meetings. And then you have to submit a case study and continue to submit your diversion data for the next couple of years. So it is a 3-year certification. So for the next 2 years, you have to submit the data to back that up. So we were certified as a gold zero waste facility. Super happy with that. I know we can get platinum. We were really close. We just had a few things that needed some shoring up for us to get to that platinum level. And I'm confident we'll get platinum by the next time we do certification again. There was just a few things, the way that we certified our project, which was a regional project, that we learned some things on the tail end of the way that needed to happen, and that threw us for a little loop. So we lost some credits that we thought we were going to get, but very happy with gold and confident that we can reach that platinum mark here very shortly. So you'll see on that recycle category. So what you're looking at here is all the categories and the points that are available within each category. In the red next to that are the points that we received, and then our total points down at the bottom. You'll see in recycle that we've got 0. That specific, so those credits it's not just about recycling. It's about, can you guarantee, credit one, I think, is 80% of that material is then being used for its highest and best use. So we can guarantee that it goes to the correct location and it goes out as a clean stream and it's been properly managed. What we couldn't do was find out where it was going through that commodity stream, and even our sorted streams, we couldn't guarantee that it was going to be used in a certain manner and handled a certain way. I mean, we know they're reusing it in their product, but guaranteeing it posed a real challenge for us. So we chose not to pursue that. So I've talked a little bit about the project here and how we got there and where we're at. On these next slides, I'm a little ahead of myself. So again, minimum program requirements, got to have the zero waste policy. The two highlighted ones were the most challenging for us. So when we looked at that 90% diversion for 12 months, we're moving a lot of materials through this facility. So it's very, to move that needle 1 percentage point is very challenging for us. And then that less than 10% contamination rate. We know we were sending out clean streams, but finding a partner in a waste hauler and recycler that will guarantee and sign documents that you have less than 10% contamination is challenging. So it's very important when you look at your waste contract and your recycling contract that they're aware that you want to do a zero waste facility and that they can support that. So that partnership becomes very important, and we're very fortunate with our latest contract that we signed. They were very on board with this. They were familiar with the program and what we needed. So that was a huge help, having a partner that understood those requirements and was willing to do those extra steps for us as well. So this is where the program takes a little bit of a turn. What you're looking at here is actually a piece of our case study. So on the left-hand side, you'll see kind of a description of what we did. At the top, you'll see what category it is, how many credits we earned. And then on the right-hand side, I'll talk through just one of the credits of what we did. So for redesign, we earned 3 of 4 credits. Focusing on credit 2, we restructured our solid waste collection agreements for zero waste. The example we used was our pallet. So again, it's a big place, it's a manufacturer, it's a complex bill of materials. We move a lot of material back and forth and receive a lot of material on skids. So finding a local partner that was willing to help us manage these skids was very challenging. But they do it. So they'll take all of our pallets back, they'll remanufacture them to a point, they'll resell them and get them back in the market so that they're still usable. So there is a market for them, it's just challenging to get there. Any other wood scraps or any other pallets that are off-size or can't be remanufactured, they do take back and they will take and turn that into compost. So it's still getting reused somewhere else. So again, very important to partner early on with people depending on what your material streams look like. In reduction, we earned 6 of 7 credits. Focusing on credit 1, it was document materials reduced by commodity. For us, this specific example is paper reduction. So in or on the production floor, there's a lot of checklists, there's a lot of things that go on day to day. People were very much in the habit of, I have a piece of paper, I print out, 1, 5, 10 of these a day, I use the checklist, I throw it away, I start over. Again, through education and some other programs that we support here at True, we've got people to use laminated checklists. And again, while they may not be recyclable at the end of life, the amount of time that we get out of this far outweighs the amount of paper that we were going through. And I think overall, as a company, in the past 6 or 7 years, we've had an overall reduction of paper consumption by about 60%. So huge wins across the board, mostly through education and understanding is how we got there on this one. So in reuse, we earned 4 of 7 credits, focusing on credit 2, document pallet and shipping container reuse. So one of our local customers here, we partnered with and created a take-back program for some of our pallets. So our product will go out, it'll be installed. That same truck that was already traveling there and coming back to our facility, they just put the skids right back on it. It goes back to the same production line, excuse me, and they'll remanufacture, repair the skid if it needs it, and then put it on another product to go back out again. We were very careful with the radius in this. so that we didn't create an accidental larger emission use, I guess, than what we could by creating new products. So we've limited that radius to a 500-mile radius, and that's kind of where the math makes the most sense on bringing that product and reusing and remanufacturing it the best we can to use it again. But that's just a quick chart of how many skids we brought back in the past year. So all of this data is focused on 2025. I didn't mention that earlier, but that's specific to our case study. In the category of compost, this is one that tripped us up a little bit on the certifying as a regional project instead of individual facilities. But we did earn one credit in this category, and it's credit number 5, utilizing reuse compost and mulch on site. We thought we were going to be able to do commercial composting. So we do have an on-site cafeteria and do some back of house composting and then kind of roll that out through there. So what we found is that as a regional project, every facility had to have the exact same services available. And while we can provide that service here, we don't have the same available services for commercial composting in some of our satellite facilities. So that posed a challenge there. I am happy to report this year we started back of house composting, and in the past 2 months, we have collected diverted about 1 ton of material. So again, we've got a large on-site cafeteria. We do everything we can to be as efficient and effective as we can with those materials and not have any waste. But now we are fully diverting all the back of house stuff that we can't reuse or sell by the end of the week. Zero waste reporting. So in this category, we earned 3 of 4 credits, focusing on credit 1, document diversion by commodity or waste. So this spreadsheet that you're looking at here was developed by our senior environmental specialist. So he manages all of the bills that we get back from a hauler and a recycler, and basically goes through these with a fine-tooth comb, manages that entire process, but came up with the diversion that you're looking here and tracked it. We've been tracking our material use now for, how far does data go back? Probably 10 years. So we've got tons of data on this right here, but this specifically shows our 2025 diversion. So again, you have to develop this and you have to report on it. Again, something we were already managing pretty closely. We just needed to make sure that the documentation aligned with what we needed to do to get credits for that. In the category of diversion, we earned 1 of 5 credits. So this is, again, a minimum program requirement that you divert at least 90% of the materials. We did this through, I think right now we have about 20 separate material streams that go out through the facility. And one of those is single stream, but most of that stuff, you can see that right-hand picture, that's a green banding drum. So we collect that separately along with about 19 other streams that move out individually to a separate vendor and go back as a commodity for remanufacture and reuse. In credit 1, we are over the 90% threshold. For us to bump that to get the second credit there would be, again, very challenging with the amount of waste or materials that we have and the way that it moves through our process. We certainly focus on the engineering side of it. If we can reduce it out and change the process a little bit, that is first and foremost, just so that we don't have to manage it on the tail end. Again, through that education. So that's us doing lunch and learn on the left-hand side. A big piece of it is people understanding why clean streams are important and helping us manage that, because we certainly can't be everywhere all at once. And it's a big space. So getting everybody on board and watching that transformational shift and that aha moment with people in the factory was fun, to say the least. It was really neat to see the shift of where we were from what our diversion was to when we added sustainability as a 4th pillar of the company, and then see that ripple effect through all of our facilities and just team members to understand that this is important to the company, this is the initiative, and this is how we're going to get there. So very exciting watching that transformational shift. But for us to get credit too, I would love to say we're going to get it. We've got some plans, so we're going to move that number, but I'm hopeful we get close to 95%. So we'll see what we can do in the next couple of years here. In the category of zero waste purchasing, we did earn 6 of 9 credits for this. So again, we've been traditionally a very sustainable company. We have followed a lot of environmentally friendly practices. This one was, in my opinion, a fairly easy lift. We were already doing it. We just needed to adopt a formal policy. So we wrote the policy around what we're currently doing and where we wanted to get and where we wanted to stay, and really looked at that bigger picture of how does this help us with upstream and downstream and day-to-day operations. So again, not a huge lift for us on that one. We do have some additional credits that you can do at the bottom there, where if you have something else that you've done, you can gain a few credits. And if I can find the appropriate notes, I can tell you what we did for a couple of these here. So 7.1, we give preference to material with a higher amount of recycled content, which aligns with the rest of our policies in general. And then 7.3, we earned a credit for preference with materials with compostable or recycled products, which again aligns with the bigger and overall sustainability goals that we've got, just from everything from our cafeteria all the way through to manufacturing and anything that we bring in-house at this point. Leadership, we earned 5 of 6 credits in this category, focusing on credit 3, encourage and incentivize employee participation. So what we've done here, we've got a program called 2-Second Lean, and it's not something that we made. It's a program you can find more information about if you just Google it. There's books out there, but it really empowers team members to be involved at a level where they can make a difference. And it starts at the top with leadership supporting this. So we've got great leadership support that if people have a sustainability effort or something like that, they'll make a video, we'll share it with the company so that other people can benefit from it. And when they do that, they'll get a t-shirt to reward for that participation and really opening their eyes up and looking at a process in a different light. Again, it's a big place. We've got a lot of people out there, and giving them that voice and letting them understand the why behind it and how they can impact the process, and then rewarding them for that is a really powerful program that helps us here. In training, we earned 7 of 9 credits, and focusing on credit 4, clearly label all collection receptacles. So you're looking at one of our centralized waste bins and locations right there, and that's actually pretty close to where I sit in the office. But originally, and I think a lot of people go down this path, we tried to make labels that encompassed everything. So it just included a lot of wording and what should go in what bin. And I was out in one of the factories one day and I looked at it, and I mean, I'm on the team and probably helped develop those labels, and I couldn't tell where something was even supposed to go. So we made a real big shift, and we went to minimal wording and pictures. And we do have we've got a lot of people here from a lot of different areas and regions. So trying to tackle that language barrier is really something easier done with pictures. People want it to be quick. They want it right now, and it's quick and easy. So we've aligned all of these pictures with basically some national standards that are out there, and they're aligned across all of our facilities, whether it's a large cardboard hopper that's in the factory or a regular bin that is in the office. All of the colors align across all of the facilities, and everything has gone down to a much easier to understand picture format instead of words, where it just gets a little lengthy and you have to try to read and understand what the person was intending. In zero waste analysis, we earned 3 of 5 credits on credit 2, analyze the results of annual waste audit and implement recommendations. So this is something we do every month. On the right-hand side is a waste audit checklist right there. And on the left-hand side, you'll see they're doing a waste audit in the factory. And it's as fabulous as it sounds. We literally walk around and dig through the bins and see what's in there. For us, the metric is easy at this point. It's pass fail. If there's one thing in the bin that's wrong, it's a fail. So we had for years tried to do it as a percentage. And if you get this percentage, we've been in the program long enough now, and there's enough education and other materials out there to help you get it in the right bin. If you can't get it in the right bin, it's just a failure, and it's going to go out in blast on during our all hands monthly sustainability meetings. So, I got to be careful when we do it in HR. If they fail, I've talked about my paycheck not cashing before, but it still makes it. So we still get there, and they have now been pretty successful in their waste audits recently. In upstream management, we earned 3 or 4 credits, focusing on credit 1, work with vendors to eliminate non-recyclable packaging. So you can see on the left-hand side, we had individually packaged material. On the right-hand side, they've gotten rid of the individual packaging. They've gone to one plastic bag. So this is all part of empowering people at the day-to-day operations that see these materials come in and out, and understanding that they do have a voice, and they can reach out to engineering and then get purchasing involved, and they go all the way back to the vendor and see where it makes sense to reduce, eliminate, change that packaging so that it makes more sense. And I know Stephanie talked a little bit about efficiencies. So if you think about a production facility and I've got to remove packaging from 50 individual pieces, or I don't have to remove any packaging, I may not sound like a large efficiency gain, but I assure you it is. Just from an economies of scale standpoint, it's a lot of wasted effort that's just unnecessary. So, so again, that's upstream management, and this is just one example of something we see almost on a monthly basis, where people now, they take a step back, they look at that. We've stopped for the most part that, well, this is how we've always done it, business as usual, and flip that script that they're really looking at things in a different light, which again, a fun transformational shift to be part of. Hazardous waste prevention, we earned 5 of 5 credits in this category. Again, another easy lift on this one. This is stuff we were already doing. So it was really just making sure we had the proper documentation in place so that we could get the credits for that. But credit 5, collect universal waste from employees and or customers. So we do provide several services here for team members that they can bring in batteries from home. I know that's one that typically is just going in somebody's waste bin at home, and that's a terrible spot for them just from, a whole variety of reasons. But we collect e-waste both internally and from team members, as well as the plastic grocery bags, and we provide bins for cardboard as well that people can bring in. So again, this in particular one was pretty easy for us to get all the credits for. Closed loop system, we earned 2 of 4 credits here. So credit 2 require a minimum of 20% post-consumer recycled content for janitorial paper products. So this in particular, when we started looking at composting, we started noticing some of the materials were not commercially compostable. So we went through, we reviewed our paper towels. In particular were the typical white bleached paper towels, which are not compostable. So we started looking at some different materials, and we settled on this roll right here, which is brown, which is compostable. It does have post-consumer products. So when we go back to that EPP and we took a step back and looked at the bigger picture, this all becomes part of that process, right? So not only is it an EPP, we found a different and better product that is compostable. And then when we get to that point and we can start to compost those bathroom materials, we'll be ready to go with it. And that's throughout our cafeteria and everywhere else. All of our materials at this point on site are compostable for things like that. But again, take that big step back and take a look at that bigger picture and see what makes sense and how it comes together. And happy accident, these materials or these paper towels in particular, people liked better than what we had before, and it was a lower cost alternative. So again, big wins all around on that particular change. And then innovation, we earned 3 of 3 credits for this. So this is one where you're given opportunity to just provide different things that you have done where there's an alternative that something may end up in the landfill instead of being reused or repurposed. So for us in particular, what we've highlighted here is a true outlet store. So now instead of coolers that we may have deconstructed and put into different waste streams or disposed of in a different way, we do offer them direct to consumer through a website so that they can be purchased at a discounted rate. Excuse me. And instead of, again, possibly hitting the landfill, they're getting a really solid second life out of that. That was one credit. The other credit we had is we have an internal auction website. So if something is going to hit one of our material streams that may go out as diversion, we do offer it to team members first. Usually, most of the stuff on there is free. Some of the stuff comes at a small price, but we put it up and give everybody equal opportunity at that so that it doesn't hit any of our material streams. And then Fridays in our cafeteria, it's basically leftover Friday. So come in, get a discounted meal, but it's whatever they're going to make out of what we had during the week there. And then some of the lessons we learned. So the big thing for us was having a great relationship with your waste hauler. It took a lot. I saw a pop up there from somebody, and I didn't catch most of it, but that some of the waste haulers don't give that diversion data and everything else. That was very important when we signed our latest hauler contract, that they would be able to support that. That was something we knew we were lacking in. So that relationship is key to a successful program. Leadership support, obviously, you've got to have that. This is a top-down initiative. It came straight out of the owner's mouth to say, hey, I want this, and start a program and let's do this. That company culture and education piece is huge. And when we did add sustainability as the pillar of the company, we really had the groundwork to change that thinking of people and make it important. The True Rating System guidance document, get that early on. It will make your life a lot easier when you're going for certification. And then some of the challenges we face. Diversion is hard, easy to regress, right? It really comes down to changing habits, and habits are hard to change. My generation in particular, we didn't grow up with recycling. So changing some of those thought processes and making them stick are difficult to do, but education and repetitiveness and positive reinforcement, that's really what's gotten us here. We do have large supply chains, and that's a challenge. We work with huge companies down to small mom and pop shops, and some of them are able to accommodate and some are not. Some of them are very aligned with zero waste and sustainability goals, emissions, and some are not. So definitely had some challenges there. Something that we've worked very hard with our purchasing department to get in line there. And then again, the regional project there, the way that we certified, and slides are jumping around on me there for a second. So, but the regional projects we've got there, that was just something that we had to learn what that looked like. And then some of the wins we had, I know we talked a little bit about the cost of sustainability, and across the board, we have found that it is a money saver. It does earn us money. All of our commodities go out, specifically cardboard. We do very well with that. We've got a couple of balers here, so we go mill direct cardboard. That standardized approach, that was huge. As large of a company as we are, we found some silos in some areas, so we were able to align with that. And one of the biggest cost-saving ones that I really like to highlight is we have 40 yards single stream dumpsters that where all our single streams going. We started pulling out all our separate material streams and finding vendors for those. What happened was now we've got a commodity in a clean stream that is either a push on cost or we're earning money back on that. But we saw massive savings in the amount of pulls that we were doing on our single stream hopper. In one facility in particular, we went from 52 pulls a year down to 2. So when you think about that from a ripple effect and scope 3 emissions and the cost per pull, and I mean, it was just monumental savings on areas like that. So you've really got to think what those savings are. And it's usually in areas where you're typically not looking. But we're getting close to time here. So Emily, I know I'm just about bumping us up on time. So I'll toss it back to you and see if there's any questions there.
Awesome. Ken, thanks so much. And Stephanie, also thank you for your great presentations and for sharing all your knowledge about zero waste strategies. So we can take some questions, a couple questions if people want to raise their hand. I do see that there are a couple questions in the chat. First, we all want a tour of Ken's facility. But second, can you share who your wood recycler is, Ken, who you're working with? Oh, you're muted. Sorry. You just need, yeah, there you go.
Yep. So our hauler, so Rebecca's in the room with me. She's the environmental chemical engineering manager and manages that piece of it. But I was just verifying before I said, so it is Republic who we use for our hauler.
Republic Services. Okay,
Yep.
Thanks. Anybody have other questions? You can raise your hand or come off mute or drop it in the chat. Well, I will jump in with just a quick question for Stephanie. Can you maybe just very briefly touch on the True for construction?
Yes. So it's very exciting. You know, like I said, the impetus was our contractors, designers, project managers were very frustrated with the construction and demolition because usually what happens, like Ken says, you just throw it all in a big bin and then who knows what happens to it. And we want to create that circular economy. So, you know, Contra Costa County, they had to take down an old jail. So they took all the stones from the old jail because it was built in the 1800s and made a beautiful new plaza off of it. And then True for Construction actually is about the deconstruction and decommissioning of buildings also. So before you even think about deconstructing, you need to clean out that building. And there's a great organization called Build Reuse. We are hosting a True workshop at their conference in November. So buildreuse.org. They have tons of resources. But once again, it's just about the flow of materials. So these large projects are zero wasting their construction trailers and have reusables, source separation. And then it's about working with a great hauler that will come out and put the different bins and train people and have the right signage. So haulers are really important if they're working in line with your zero waste and circularity. And then we actually have suppliers, like the big wall boards that come in were wrapped in wood and they had to deconstruct them. That supplier now has reusable shipping containers, saving them tons of money, saving the facility tons of time, and then not having to deal with all that broken wood. So it follows the same framework as True for operations, and so does True for events.
Got it. Thanks. So we are a little past one, but I am going to take a couple more questions if anybody has them. We do have one in the chat from Alex. He was recently told that lead for operations and maintenance aligns with or is more integrated with True. The most recent version, which I am assuming we're talking about lead V5. Stephanie, can you talk about that a little?
I think the reason True was brought in to USGBC was to raise the bar. So in Lead V5, there's extra points for going beyond 75% and actually having a zero waste plan in place versus just a waste management plan. If you want to email me or Mary Ellen directly, we can get you more information. We're waiting to do a crosswalk. There you go. Mary Ellen put it in the chat, but we're waiting until True V2 comes out in the fall, and then we'll be doing a robust crosswalk between Lead V5 and True V2. And I'd also say, lead O&M, there's that whole thing about, waste management and the flow of materials. So you can leverage a lot of your true actions for helping you meet higher levels of lead O&M.
Any other questions? I was just gonna ask Ken, so you guys got this certification, was it last year or this year? You're on mute, sorry.
Yep. So we received certification in February of this year. So it is
Okay.
brand new to us.
Right, so are you already thinking about your recertification in 3 years and what you're gonna do to get to the platinum level?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was, I mean, we got to a point and we had a 10-year goal set out and we were far enough along that we knew that we could certify and we wanted to check that box so that we could just get that done, make sure we knew what to do. And then, yeah, we've absolutely. So, and I know this doesn't count, but we use a lot of foam here in our product and we're diverting it. It won't count for diversion just because it is waste to energy, but it's at least not going to the landfill. So that represents a significant amount for us. And then we have started composting. So we'll start putting that out. And then we've started working on how can we better document our reuse, the way that we move materials in around the facility. So yeah, we're on there. We're not taking our foot off the gas at this point because the minute we do, it'll just regress right back to 10 years ago, and nobody wants to see that.
Yeah, thanks. Stephanie, you had your hand up?
Yeah, just want to clarify real quickly, there's two types of recertification. So if your facility is certified, that's what I put in the chat. You just send in your annual diversion data and then document that you have the same credits. And that's every 3 years. And then what Ken is talking about is we have that flexibility and it's a nominal fee. You're not paying the full fee again to move from silver to gold or silver to platinum, because True is about continuous improvement. So just really want to applaud Ken and his team for everything they're doing.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I'll tell you, it was not a me effort. If you're going to get there, it is a team effort. Everybody has to be on board.
Yeah. Victor, did you have a question?
No, I think Stephanie already answered that question.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. All right, well, I think let's go ahead and wrap up since we're 5 minutes after, but again, thank you so much to Stephanie and Ken for sharing their expertise. Thanks to the Green Business Challenge and USGBC for partnering today. And thanks to all of you for attending and participating in the follow-up discussion. Hopefully we'll see you at an upcoming event soon, and I wish you all a wonderful Friday and even better weekend. So thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.